Good morning and welcome to our fourth annual Hispanic Farmers and Agricultural Professionals Symposium. My name is Maya McElrath. I'm one of two co-presidents, along with my business partner, Dr. Nola Martinez, of leading mano-Y-ola. We are very excited to have you here today and honored that you're spending the day with us, or at least a portion of it, as we dedicate space, time, and attention to key individuals and influential members of society who have had a tremendous impact on agriculture in the United States. If you have looked at our website, Latino Farmers USA, you will have read that our symposium is, and I quote, celebrates Latino agricultural heritage and leadership, connecting youth, farmers, and agricultural professionals from across the United States. Today, during the symposium, you'll have an opportunity to hear from students who are currently working on degrees in agriculture, including engineering, social sciences, animal science, and others, as well as recent graduates. These students were carefully selected from hundreds of applicants over the past 5 years to participate in an internship program with mano-Y-ola and placed in various NRCS offices across the country. To date, we have worked with over 50 young agricultural professionals through both virtual and traveling internships. I'm very excited for you to see some of their work and to hear from them directly. We'll also get a chance to hear from family farm owners and their succession planning and legacy building plans for the future. If you were with us in 2020, our very first virtual symposium, you will remember Sara Espinosa, who was our moderator for that symposium. For those of you who were not with us, you just saw Sara provide an excellent pre-recorded Zoom webinar protocol. Sara joined us in 2019 as one of our talent development interns and worked full-time for mano-Y-ola until she was offered her current position as soil scientist at NRCS in Indiana. My reason for bringing this up is Sara and her family, her brother and father, will join us today as one of our featured family farm owners, and we're honored to have them as well. In addition to hearing from family farm owners, we will take you on a virtual journey into a farm in Louisiana where you'll meet Dave Daigle, who shared with us a fantastic silver pasture system. We'll hear from USDA experts and better understand the agency's position on climate smart initiatives and future funding opportunities, as well as an expert panel discussion on forestry. However, before we start all of this carefully planned out and intentional programming, we're going to hear from two very critical partners with whom, without their support, we would not be able to engage in the outreach efforts that we have been honored to be a part of for the past 7 years. We're going to be joined live today by our current Natural Resource Conservation Service Associate Chief, Louis Aspey. We're honored to have you here with us. And before we hear from the chief, we will hear from Dr. Homer Wilkes, who recorded a message for us earlier this week. Just a little background, Nolo and I this month will have completed 11 years of work together. And about 4 years into our partnership, Nolo wrote his first grant and concept to conduct outreach to Hispanic farmers and producers. At the time, Nolo was living in Mississippi, and with the help of some friends, we were able to connect with a local nonprofit agency to help implement the grant. On this journey, we were lucky to cross paths with Dr. Homer Wilkes, who at the time was the NRCS state conservationist for Mississippi. Today, Dr. Wilkes is the Undersecretary of Agriculture, having been sworn into that position just over 7 months ago. Dr. Wilkes' career in USDA spans more than 40 years. We truly were lucky to cross paths when we did. Thank you again. We hope you enjoy the symposium, and welcome.
First of all, good morning, and I really want to congratulate mano-Y-ola for their 4th annual conference. And before I get into what I want to talk about today, I just want to congratulate and thank Dr. Nolo, as I call him. I met Dr. Nolo Martinez some years ago when he was Assistant Extension Director at Alcorn State University. And we talked about how could we actually work on getting more Hispanics into the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And knowing Nolo, as you may know him, is that he was very excited about the opportunity to work with USDA. So we start looking at some possibilities about what could we do in order to do that. So I introduced him to Chief Leonard Jordan at the time, and we had a small grant that we awarded to and he began to do such outstanding work in the Hispanic communities and other communities towards underserved people until I think that the grant was actually expanded. And now here we are today, 4 years later, you're having an annual conference. So congratulations. I also want to congratulate this particular outstanding group on the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. Very, very, very important that we actually recognize the contributions that have been made, by all members of society. In particular, we are recognizing the contributions that have been made by the Hispanic community. But before I get into what I want to talk about, I want to give you a little background about me. I'm, as an African American, I was raised in a town called Port Gibson, Mississippi, about 7 miles north of Alcorn State University. And I had a chance to work on the farm and working with my grandfather. And over those years, a lot was actually taught to me. And I think it was that early teaching that afforded me the opportunity to be where I am today, both having served as state conservation for the Mississippi for some 19 plus years, and then now in the role that I am as Undersecretary for Natural Resources and Environment. You know, when you're growing up in rural Mississippi, my grandfather taught me, he said, son, if you take care of the land will take care of itself. If you take care of the land will take care of you, more importantly. And he always said you want to make sure that you have that seed corn. You know, in the early days, we didn't have these geo-modified products out there, such as corn, soybean. The farmer would always gather that seed corn and he'd put it in a mason jar because he was getting ready for the next planting season. And that was so important during those times as we began to do those types of things. So what I will tell you is that as you began to look at agriculture in the grand scheme of things, every walk of life, you can find yourself in agriculture. Food protection, seed protection, when clothing, you put on a pair of shoes, it came, from agriculture. If you actually wear a cotton shirt or any type of shirt, it came from agriculture because it was produced from the food and fiber that we are producing out there. So I'm saying that for the students, no matter what walk of life you might want to participate in, you can actually find yourself a job in agriculture, whether it be an accountant, whether it be a computer person, whether it be a forester, whether it be an economist, whether it be a computer specialist, you can find a job in agriculture. So I want to make sure that I do a shout out from the standpoint of recruiting efforts to make sure that students and the folks that participate in this program, this fourth annual conference, know that you have an opportunity in agriculture. Now, let's talk about the issues at hand. As you probably have heard, and most folks understand, is that we are in a severe drought in these United States, which is part of what this idea we call climate change. The earth is warming up, it's heating up, and it's melting places that have never melted before. You see some of the forest fires that's going on around these countrysides. You see the droughts, you see the streams that are actually, drying up. But that just didn't just happen. That is based on what's taking place on this continent. And we call it, climate change. Now, I think that all of us can play an important role in climate change from the standpoint of, carbon sequestration, the planting of trees, actually the planting of crops out there, cover crops that would actually sequester carbon. Let's face it, trees sequester carbon. They give off oxygen. So therefore, that's a good combination. As this carbon is being sequestered by these trees and plants are giving off oxygen. So that affords us the opportunity actually to breathe clean air, to actually have clean water, have healthy soils. And all of those things can have an impact on what takes place in this environment. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be the Undersecretary for Natural Resources and Environment. Under that purview, is primarily I have the responsibility to overseeing the activities of the United States Forest Service. In the U.S. Forest Service, we manage over 193 million acres of national forest and grassland. And to be exact, we have 154 national forests, 20 national grasslands in 43 states and in Puerto Rico. And overall, that's almost twice the size of a state like California. So it's a lot to say, grace over, for lack of a better word. We also provide research, technical, and financial assistance for sustainable management of over 700 million acres of private, state, and tribal forests, including those that, whether you be in Puerto Rico, or you be in Mississippi, whether you be in Louisiana, or whether you be in California, that's where we are. We have a big footprint. In addition to these vital benefits, our forests are climate change mitigation powerhouses. It's critically important that we make investments and have policies that secure healthy and climate resilient forests for the future. America's forests already capture nearly 15% of our nation's carbon emissions each year, and they have the potential to do more. We need this to continue, and you all are in the business of helping us as farmers, ranchers, and foresters. That's what you do, and I thank you for that help that's taking place. Let me just say, it is more likely that the gradual change will take place and less disturbance on our national forests will happen. But what I'm asking here today, and the folks at this conference, that I'm not asking you to buy into what I'm telling you. I'm asking you to be in it. Be into the solutions that we will need in order to address these concerns that we have out here as far as forest is concerned. Be included when we come talking about reforestation. As you've seen some of these severe fires that, the Herman Peak fire that took place in New Mexico, you have the Black fire that took place in New Mexico, you have a Caldor fire that took place in actually California. Once those fires take place, it does a job on our forests, and a lot of those trees are actually burned. The plant communities actually destroyed. So we're going to have to make a major effort from the standpoint of doing what is known as reforestation, the replanting of those trees. So I'm going to ask you to take serious consideration and look at what can be done on that, because if we all do a little, it can be a lot. And I think that this organization is up for it. So let's actually get involved. Let's not buy into the process. Let's be into the process. And last but certainly not least, what I want to do is appeal. We began to talk agencies. This administration, the Biden-Harris administration, along with Secretary Vilsack and actually Deputy Secretary Jewel Brownell, we've actually looked at things such as, and we're going to call it, we want to make sure that there's diversity. We want to make sure that there's equity. We want to make sure there's inclusion. And we also want to make sure there's accessibility. So DEIA is very, very important to me and particularly this administration. We don't want to make sure that folks that are out there that haven't had an opportunity to participate in our programs is there. We want a diverse workforce. I want to applaud mano-Y-ola and particularly Nolo for the efforts and the vision that he's had in order to do those recruiting efforts to bring people into our organization that's never been there before. I think since he's been incorporated this 4-year celebration, that there have been hundreds of employees that come to USDA as a whole that wouldn't have been there if it was not for the efforts of this organization. I think that there's also an effort at equity. We're making sure that folks have the same chance to participate in our programs, whether it be EQIP, whether it be CRP, whether it be CSP, and some of those other programs we have out there, as well as the Forest Service. I mean, we want to see people participate in the forest programs, equity. We want to look at the standpoint, whether it be contractor, whether it be procurement, as well as working with us. So let's bring equity across the board. And this organization can help us out there tremendously. We also want to have included in the decision-making process. We want people sitting on boards. We want people to actually participate as far as decision-making, okay, how funds should be spent. So that's why it's so important that you sit on those various boards, whether it be the Conservation District Board, whether it be the Farm Service county, as well as state committee boards. That's where decisions actually are made. And then I will tell you about what the Forest Service has. Nolo has been awarded, the Secretary just appointed him to a board that actually oversees a lot of the work that the Forest Service actually does. We have those committees and counties that's out there that need the input from the various communities out there, in particular the Hispanic community. So I want to say that that's very important. And last but certainly not least, we want to make sure accessibility. That we have over the years we've heard that people have not been able to access our programs. So I will tell you the efforts are being made to make sure that you're made aware of the programs out there, and you have those county offices, and even when they come down to the forest themselves. We want to make sure that when you come on the forest, that there's representation of folks out there that look like America. That is an effort that we want to make. So I'll tell you again, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is very, very important for us within USDA. Again, I want to actually commend you on your 4th annual conference. Looking forward to continue the work relation that I've formed with this organization for over the years. And we're just going to continue to make sure that we have the representation and that people have access to all our programs. Opportunity to spend a little time with you today, and we just hope you the very best in the rest of this conference. Now I want to actually introduce and pass the baton to a good friend of mine, Louis Aspey. Louis serves as the Associate Chief for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And Louis will take it from here and tell you about the outstanding programs that exist within the Natural Resource Conservation Service and the efforts that are being made in order to continue the recruitment efforts that NRCS has worked with NOLO and this organization for many years. So Louis, thank you for sharing the opportunity here with me today, and I'm going to pass it to you.
Dr. Wilkes, thank you so much. I wish that you were here in person. And good morning, everybody, and congratulations, as Dr. Wilkes mentioned. I want to offer my congratulations as well for the fourth Hispanic Farmers and Agricultural Symposium. I am so very honored to be here with you today, and I am reminded what a challenge it is to follow Dr. Wilkes in offering any remarks. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to start off this symposium with a few thoughts on working with and working for NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I do know we have a wide variety of participants in the audience, and many of you are familiar with NRCS, but I'm going to start off with a very quick introduction. Our motto, as you may know, is helping people help the land. NRCS provides financial and technical assistance tailored to the needs and goals of each farmer, rancher, and forester that we work with. We believe that through voluntary, locally led conservation and with the help of partners and producers, we can address major challenges affecting our communities and our country. If you are a producer and you have not met with our local staff yet, I strongly encourage you to please visit one of our more than 2,300 service centers around the country to learn more about our programs and services. Underserved producers are eligible for a higher cost share within our programs, and they can receive a portion of those payments upfront rather than as a reimbursement. NRCS also offers free interpretation services for assistance at your local USDA service center. If you tell the staff your preferred language, the USDA team member will call in an interpreter and get the discussion started. Many of our written materials are also available in translation. These information is also available on our website and also on farmers.gov. So when Chief Cosby took on his role as the head of NRCS, he brought the team together around 5 priorities to make the agency a stronger and more trusted partner. They are: ensure equity in the delivery and implementation of all NRCS programs and services, increase assistance for climate-smart agriculture and forestry to support producers in mitigating climate change and building resiliency across their operations, expand conservation tools and support to address the unique needs of urban farmers and communities nationwide, cultivate a complete and diverse workforce that has the right tools, technology, and training to uphold the scientific integrity of NRCS, and leverage innovative partnerships to expand NRCS's ability to get conservation on the ground effectively and efficiently. I want to emphasize these priorities are not separate, they're all intertwined. For example, equity is a consideration in all of our work, including new programs and initiatives on climate and urban agriculture. And we depend on partnerships in all that we do. It is a cornerstone of the agency. On that topic, one of the key examples that I want to share is an achievement that we're particularly proud of, and it's the Equity Conservation Cooperative Agreements. Over the past several months, 118 entities were selected to receive $50 million in funding to expand conservation practice implementation. That created 85 new outreach partnerships and continued 33 existing partnerships. A very familiar name is included in that list for the project Champions in Conservation and Climate Smart Agriculture. Nolo and team, thank you so much for working with us and expanding this partnership to reach new conservation champions across the country. By working with trusted local partners on the ground like mano-Y-ola, we at NRCS can advance and improve our outreach and the value of our programs for producers who have not engaged with USDA in the past. Over the past year, tremendous changes occurred within NRCS and opportunities have presented themselves. And I want to touch on a few of those. The first one is the bipartisan infrastructure law, which passed last fall, almost a year ago already. And that will help NRCS provide more resources towards building partnerships. This law, or also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, was passed in November of last year, and it provided $918 million for the watershed programs administered by NRCS. These offer financial and technical assistance to address issues such as flood prevention, water management, hydropower sources, and erosion and sediment control, among others. They are public infrastructure. This historic legislation allowed us to address a broader portfolio of priority needs across the nation and U.S. territories. We're prioritizing new projects to conduct preliminary investigations, planning, and implementation, as well as construction. We are very excited about this opportunity to really improve the nation's infrastructure. Another example that I want to provide is the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities. The goal of this program is to build and expand market opportunities for American commodities produced using climate smart practices through pilot projects, positioning American producers as global leaders in climate smart agricultural production. Secretary Vilsack recently announced up to $2.8 billion for 70 selected projects under the first pool of projects. That's up from the $1 billion that was initially allocated for the program. But because of the unprecedented demand and interest, we had about $20 billion in applications, as well as the potential for meaningful opportunities to benefit producers through the proposals. The Biden-Harris administration increased the total funding to that approaching $3 billion. Projects were selected based on a range of criteria with emphasis placed on greenhouse gas and/or carbon sequestration benefits and equity. So congratulations are in order again from mano-Y-ola, who will be partnering on a $95 million project to build a Midwest climate smart commodity program that will provide funding to farmers via outcome-based contracts for the reduction and removal of carbon dioxide through the adoption of new climate smart practices. This is a great opportunity for partner groups to work together to improve both the environment and environmental outcomes to help nations' farmers' bottom lines. So please keep an ear out for an announcement about the second wave of projects that should be coming shortly. The Inflation Reduction Act was also recently passed. That is a once in a generation piece of legislation that provides the opportunity to address climate adaptation and mitigation on a major scale. This act represents the single largest investment in climate and clean energy solutions in American history. Almost $21 billion of this investment supports NRCS conservation programs so that more producers will have access to our assistance to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase storage of carbon in their soil and trees, and improve their operations. NRCS leadership and the team has been working very, very hard in developing an implementation strategy to accomplish several things. One, target the additional funding, streamline our program delivery, again, leverage partnerships, advance equity, and quantify the outcomes so we can tell the story of the great work that you all are doing. I'll just reiterate, leveraging partnerships and streamlining program delivery to producers are going to be key in these efforts, as is ensuring equity across the funds for everyone. I am very hopeful, and as is Chief Cosby, that many new producers will benefit from these funds. And when you walk into a service center for the first time, we recognize the trust you're placing in USDA and NRCS, and we are striving for you to have a positive experience. Finally, I know that there are many students perhaps in the audience today. And if all of this work and all this opportunity sounds exciting and inspiring to you as it does to me, please come consider joining working for NRCS. We have hired almost 3,000 staff since the pandemic started in March of 2020, and we anticipating bringing on an additional 3,000 or so over the next few years. We want our staff to reflect and represent the customers we serve. We offer a wide range of opportunities. If you're looking for something less formal with NRCS and full-time employment, consider being an Earth Team volunteer. You can gain valuable experience and network with your local or state office staff. We also offer paid internships, as that has been mentioned earlier, for high school students and degree-seeking undergrad and grad students in college studying ag and natural resources related fields. And we also, NRCS hires public affairs specialists, archaeologists, analysts, administrative staff, and many other opportunities beyond STEM. If you're a recent graduate, we also have hiring programs for you. So I would strongly encourage you to please visit our website, nrcs.usda.gov, to learn more about that. And they're just, I cannot emphasize this enough. You have great opportunities here if you're interested in working for USDA and NRCS. So in closing, this year's National Hispanic Heritage Month theme is Unidos, Inclusivity for a Stronger Nation. And I think that theme really rings true for our priorities here at NRCS. When we find more ways to unite and build partnerships of trust, and with a diverse and well-trained workforce, we can accomplish our mission of helping people help the land and truly helping all people help the land. I know there are several exciting panels on the agenda, including some of my great colleagues from NRCS, so I'm going to wrap up. But again, thank you so very much for allowing me the opportunity to visit with you this morning and enjoy the rest of the symposium. Thank you.